What up, YouTube? Today we're going to be replacing the starter on a 2019 Hyundai Sonata. So, give you kind of a quick overview. The car has a issue where it won't start at all. Went through, checked everything, relays, fuses, nothing was working. I'm sorry, all the fuses and everything were good, but nothing was working to get to the starter. The starter's getting power to it, which is way back down there from the intake. So guess what all has to come off just to get to the starter? Everything. So we're gonna go into that. Just hang out and we'll get you in there. So we're gonna get into this undaunting mess. First off, you're gonna get the screws out of the intake. You got one back here behind the dipstick, which you're gonna take the dipstick out so you can get to it. There, one right there. And then you got one on the other side, buried underneath there. Yeah, there it is right there. So you're gonna unplug all these harnesses. Of course, that are strapped down to it, and you can unclip it by squeezing it with a pair of needle nose to get it separated right there as well. Disconnect that. It's the same process as the 2012. So the only thing that's different is the car is a little bit newer. And this particular car, I think, has around about 36,000 miles. And before you even ask what killed the starter with that low mileage, I've seen a lot with all these newer style cars is the battery. If you let the battery die and then you try to start it and it does that little clicking thing, that's when you're gonna have issues. So if you know the battery's weak, don't let it get to that point. Go ahead and start making reservations to get you a new battery before it goes any further. So I'm gonna go ahead and get all this stuff did, and I'll click you guys back on when I got the intake off. Also too, there is a screw set behind the backside of this intake that has to come off in order for you to remove the whole intake. So can't really see it, but you can do it by feel. I'll turn you back on when I get down to that part. Okay, something throwing it out there to you. You don't have to remove that, but it helps for me. Gives me a little bit more visual. You can see that. Also too, you can actually separate the throttle from the actual intake housing. When you do that, you don't have to disconnect the coolant lines from it. You can just slide it over. Once you get it out the way, everything comes off and you should be good to remove the intake. Like you see here, I just moved all the intake harness, unstrapped it from the intake, and the two clips that sit there, you unclip those, and then the rest of it just slides off. There's no tabs to hold it, so it makes it a whole lot easier. I had that problem with the earlier generation of this model, to where everything was clipped in. But with this one, it just slides off. That little stalk right there, kind of see it just slides straight up on both of them. Push it right here and put it back on, just slide it. See, there's no locking tabs on those. So, get into a little bit further and I'll let you see what I got. Okay, now we've removed the throttle for 10mm bolts. All right, now we're gonna work off removing these air lines. Take these off, slide the clips back, obviously, and then you just start wheeling the line off, because in most cases it should just come off, depending on how old the car is. But in most cases it's gonna be a little tough, and you have to use both hands. So let me get that done and show you something else. All right, so now we got the bolts out the intake. Remember I told you there's two 12mm bolts that sit underneath that intake right below there. You can't see them. I couldn't get the phone under there or any camera to get in there. My scope is not here at the moment, but just know that they're there, and if they're not loose, the intake won't move at all. So in most cases you have to feel around. Once you feel them, it's two on the bracket that's connected to the bottom of this. Or you could just take out the one bolt that sits on the block, whichever is easier. But I just do the intake because it gives me some type of platform to set everything back on once everything's back together. All right, now let me get this thing out the way and I'll show you how the starter sits in here. Before I even get to the starter, let me show you something. This thing is filthy. And if you know anything about direct injection vehicles, what they tend to do is not clean like the contemporary old school style port injection. So when you look in there, everything looks filthy. I mean, the back of the valves, everything. Kind of see it right there. It's just filthy. So if you do get a chance or are able, you can get something and blow some of the stuff out or get some type of degreaser and try to clean it out that way. When you do, make sure you dry everything out or you're gonna have an issue when you try to start it. Now, we got that all out the way, and this baffle right here, that's for the injectors. Look down there, there's the starter. You have 2 bolts. You can kind of see an idea where the bolts are. And right there, that's that plate I was talking about. So, remember I said you could take 1 bolt out, which is on the back of the engine back there, on the bottom. Or you can just take these 2 out. But remember, if you take out that 1 back there, you have this wire harness that's strapped to it. So keep in mind how hard you want it to be. So once you get that out, you got access to your starter. So you'll start disconnecting this stuff up here. And keep in mind that it's a 12 millimeter for the intake bolts. And it's a 12 millimeter for the starter wire. And like I said, once everything's right there, that's it. You got a bolt right down there. You can kind of see it. And then the other one, it's not far. It's right here. Let's see if I can show you. Well, right there. You can kind of see it. There it is right there. There's your bolts. Once you get those 2 bolts out, you're ready to drop it down. So right there, and the one over here, right there. And that's a 14 millimeter. I'll be right back. Okay, YouTube. I hate to interrupt this video, but some of y'all don't know, some of y'all do know. I am an Amazon affiliate, so I do have an Amazon store that I have. And if you see anything in it that you want, click on it. Look down in the description below. It'll be there. Check it out. You might find something that you might need. You might find something you might enjoy. Could be the next best thing to help you get your car fixed. Check it out. So before I start the reinstall, I'm gonna show you that real fast. This where the housing was where the starter sat, right in this tunnel. So all of this stuff that came out of there is probably what burned up inside of the starter, what made it lock up and burn up. So you'll have telltale signs if you're available to get to it. So if you have an inspection camera, you probably can get back there without even taking the starter off or taking anything off to actually see back there. But yeah, that's what killed the starter. I'm gonna go back with the reinstall and fire it up. Now that's back in there, the bolts are fastened in. Bam, bam. Yeah, I'm going back to saying bam again. So one of the subscribers that I have, I'm saying it again, what you gonna do? Come fight me? But everything's back in, it's buttoned up. So now we're gonna go back with the intake in reverse order and do the startup. Okay, so recap where we're at. Now we got everything put back in. All the bolts are in. That one, that one, that one, back there. Come on, focus. Here we go. That one, and that one. And the 2 underneath that. I can try to get it up in there to see if you can see it. 2 bolts underneath there. So now, the only thing we gotta do is reconnect our wire harnesses and our hoses that we took off, which is what I'm gonna do now. And once I get that done, we're gonna do a startup. And reconnect our harness back. Also, too, do not forget to put your dipstick back in, because you don't want the trash to fall in there. Also, too, you can't forget to reconnect your throttle body, because if not, you might have a problem. Just doing this because it's simple and get it out the way. Normally I would say this for last, but I'm doing this first for whatever reason. Make sure I don't leave anything unplugged. Which I double and triple check everything before I start the car. So just hold tight. Okay, we got everything back together, as you can see. Tighten down, buckle down, clips in place, batteries connected. Let's go and see what happens. It should start straight up. Like I said, it didn't have that many miles on it. It's 39,399. So let's see. Moment of truth. Fire straight up. Now with this, if you have any questions, comments, worries, or scared to do this by yourself, this is fairly simple. But as always, you have access to me almost 24/7. Just put a message in the comments, or you can email me, and I will do my best to get back in contact with you as fast as I can to respond to you. And as always, like, share, subscribe.